Hello, everyone. This is Joan Turner from the GHAA and with our Meet the Artist series. We have been doing this for a while now, and our goal is to provide more exposure for our valued members. And sometimes, I do the treasury work for the group, but I don't always get to meet everyone. So this is a really cool thing for me to do. But Lisa, I'm gonna tell everyone that I know you from our Boscone and Aresia uh, things, and very exciting. When I saw your name on the GHA list, I'm like, is that my Lisa? Yeah, and sure enough, it was. So everyone, welcome Lisa Hertel to Meet the Artist. We are so happy to have you here. And I already know what your artwork looks like, so people are in for a treat. Okay. So of course we have to always ask the first question. How did you become interested in art? How did you get into this field? And my mother used to say, "Oh, since you could pick up a crayon, you just draw all over everything." Well, how did you get interested?
Well, so I come from a family of artists. My mother always was into art. She always drew. Her mother painted and drew, never professionally, although my mother was very good. My mother, for a while, was actually supporting herself with beading, making jewelry and stuff.
Cool.
When she was sort of semi-retired, but I don't know if she made a lot of money, but she was, making some money at it. Um, she doesn't do any. She's 87 now. She doesn't do much anymore.
I love
But my daughter is also an excellent artist, better than me really. She's into art therapy, um, and so it's just the women in my family have always done art. The men in my family too. My father actually wanted to be a naval architect,
Oh,
but he
cool.
was a lefty, and this was the 50s, so there was no CAD programs. So he went to college, and his college teacher flunked him because he was a lefty. Just because he was
Wow.
lefty, because my father had the most beautiful, like perfect handwriting and never smudged but you weren't allowed to be a lefty and do technical drawing.
It's weird
Um,
how backwards they were a little bit back then.
yeah, so he became a chemical engineer instead, which worked out fine. But but
Good, that's
and
good.
my brother actually used to make like little figurines out of horseshoe nails and
Really?
glue like watch parts together, and he ended up becoming a dentist, which is also sort of a creative endeavor because he would make like teeth and stuff for people, carved teeth, and
I was
nowadays it's
just
all
gonna
done with.
say, now how is that artistic? I know some people actually do little
Yeah,
tattoos on teeth.
nowadays they just use 3D printers, so it's
3D printer. That's
that's
right.
yeah. but
Absolutely right.
um, but in the old days you usually used to have to carve the teeth,
Wow.
so my so I come from an artistic family, um, and my son is even a little artistic. He's going to build robots for a living. Um,
How old is he? How old is your son?
oh, he's still in college. He's only 20. He'll be
Okay.
21
I
very
thought you were
soon.
talking about a little guy. You don't look like old enough to have a child 20 in college.
Yeah. Oh, my
Love it.
daughter's 23. She's graduated.
God love you. God love you.
Yeah, she's all grown up. They're
Yeah.
both pretty much grown up. And I've always loved art. I go to these science fiction conventions. I collect art. I have a whole bunch of art from a whole bunch of different artists. Back before I
Yeah.
had kids, I spent money on art, and then I had kids and
Couldn't
spent
spend
money on
any money
college.
on anything except the kids, right?
Right. Well, yeah,
Oh,
college
that's what
educations.
I think. I don't know if I met you at Aresia or Boscone, but those are both sci-fi cons, and
Right.
they have, as part of what's going on with them, they have a weekend-long art show, and you volunteer at that, and I volunteer at that. So it was a natural thing for us to kind of run into each other and whatnot. So that is very cool. And as you said in one of your emails this year, they're doing them virtually. So it seems really weird. This is like the first time in like 20 years I've not attended that. So hopefully they bring that back soon because I think that's a good venue for people to have their artwork shown. Those cons bring in like what, 5K, 5,000 people over the weekend.
Depends. Depends upon the convention.
Yeah.
So like Albacon, which is a tiny little convention out in Albany, I'm one of the best artists.
Okay.
At Ariege, I'm about in the middle in terms
Uh-huh.
of the quality of art that I do. And at BosCon, I'm one of the worst artists. And it's not because my art has changed. It's because of the quality of artists.
The quality of artists is different. Yeah. And so is
Right.
it the
BosCon,
prices.
right. Ariege has around 3,000 attendees now. And BosCon only has about 1,000. But
Oh,
BosCon's very old and attracts some of the finest illustrators, science fiction
yeah.
illustrators
Yeah.
in the world, really.
Yeah.
But especially in the Northeast.
Hmm.
And I when I'm my art is displayed next to somebody like Gary Lippincott or Omar Ryan, or it's like,
I have some of
yeah,
his
nobody's
prints.
nobody's gonna look at my stuff.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's not true. That's not true, Lisa. I have some
Although
of Barry's
the
prints. I love him.
there was a few years ago where Omar had this really big piece, and it was like 3 or 4 feet long and like 2 feet high. It was huge, but it was unframed. It was unmounted. It was just paper, right? It was a watercolor on paper, and I was like, and he priced it at $7,000, which for his art is reasonable,
It's reasonable. That's right. I
right?
have some of
And,
his too, but only prints. I can't afford
right.
any of his originals.
And I was like, Omar, for 7K, you could at least frame it.
Yeah, we
It,
throw a frame on there, honey. He's
and
too
he's
funny.
like, you buy it, I'll frame it. I'm like, I have kids in college, dude. Meanwhile, I'm like, I'm one bay over, and my watercolors, which are much smaller, they're only 11 by 14, are like $200, you know.
Yep, right, right. That's more my category too. I sold a picture at Aresia for almost 500, and that was like, yay! I was like so excited. So yeah, I understand that totally. So
But
let me ask you about Worldcon. I know I sent you an email, or you sent me one, right? Worldcon? Where is that?
so the Worldcon moves around every year. This year is
Yeah.
going to be in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Usually it's in August,
Yeah.
but because of the pandemic, they decided to delay this year to December. So it's the
Yes.
weekend before Christmas, which
Gotcha. Yeah,
can
this
be
is
a
a
little
tough
iffy.
one. Yeah, that's a little tough one.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it will be in person. Generally Worldcon, depending upon where it is, attracts around in the US usually attracts around 5,000 people. DC was expecting closer to 6,000, but now post pandemic, I
Yeah.
think they're only expecting about 2,000.
1,000. Okay.
The last Worldcon in Boston had about 7 or 8,000 people, but that was back in
Wow. Wow.
2004.
Okay. So for the rest of our fellow GHA members, do you know what the website is? It just worldcon.com or
Actually, there
.org?
is a worldcon.org website which
Okay.
lists all the current and future and upcoming Worldcons.
Yeah.
But the every Worldcon also gets its own unique name.
Okay.
And this one it will be DISCON 3, DISCON
Okay.
3.org. They're all actually nonprofit literary organizations. So and I volunteer. I'm helping to run the art show,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is basically a pop-up art gallery. For most conventions locally, it lasts about 3 days. Worldcon lasts like 5 days, so it's going to be longer. Um, and the fees are fairly reasonable. Um, the the panel fees, we haven't actually put out the mailing yet, but the panel fees for the Worldcon this year are $40. That's for a 4 by 6 foot
That's
space.
really reasonable. So
Right.
I think this is really valuable information for our fellow GHA artists. And so thank you. Thank you for the info.
And we also have tables which are the 6 foot long by 2.5 foot wide tables, same $40 for a space. And you can even get
Wow.
half a space if you want, and we
Yep.
will accept mail in. You do need to be at least a supporting member of the convention.
Uh-huh.
And the supporting membership, I believe, is currently $50. And if you want to attend the convention, if you like science fiction, it's great. Worldcon is like where all the big authors hang out, and if you're a big George R. R. Martin fan or whatever,
Oh,
definitely
definitely.
you want to go there.
Yeah.
Um, and George is a very nice guy, actually. He's very personable.
Very
Um,
true.
but
Yeah,
if you want
despite
to
his
go and hang out,
imagination, right?
yeah, he's so, but the attending membership, I believe, is currently somewhere around $200. I don't remember exactly. But you get extra when you buy that membership. You also get extra benefits. You get to vote in the Hugo Awards, which is the premier science fiction award, and you also get to for an additional fee, you get to choose where the Worldcon will be 2 years hence.
Oh, good.
Currently, the people it's sort of like the Olympics where it's being bid, and except it's chosen by the members of the World Science Fiction Convention, the Worldcon. And currently, the 2023 bidders are Memphis, Tennessee, Winnipeg, Canada, Manitoba, Canada,
Cool.
and Chengdu in China.
Wow. Okay.
So it really does move around the
It
world.
does move around the world.
Yes, it's been in Japan. It's been in Australia several times. This past year it was supposed to be in New Zealand for the first time,
Mm,
but they had to go online virtual because of the pandemic.
sure.
It's been in Germany, Helsinki, Finland.
Has it been in New York? I think I went to a Worldcon in New
It
York
was in New
many
York, but
moons ago.
back in the '60s. New York is
Oh,
very
okay. I was
expensive.
gonna say many moons ago, but
Yeah, like I think the last Nikon was like '67 or something.
okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. All right.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
before
Thank you.
my
Thank you.
time.
Thank you. And I want to now talk more about you, young lady, and go back to, your autistic and your autistic family. Do you have a mentor or someone who actually got you into it, or was just you because your family was in the art community? It was just a natural progression
So
for you?
So mostly what I sell is pottery. I do a lot of pottery. I also do I do a lot of different things. I'm kind of all over the place.
Me too.
I do alcohol inks, which I do encaustics. I
Yeah.
do wire sculptures, especially these telephone wire trees. I do well today I was doing pottery. I do the watercolors. I just do drawing, pencil, pen.
Yeah, very
Um,
eclectic. You know what? I did not even know what encaustics were until you did some in the Dragon's Lair. Did you not for the kids?
yeah.
Okay, so
So
drag.
so so for conventions, I have a cheapo encaustics that I do. What I do is I use crayons, um, because real encaustics are very expensive.
They are, they are. Do you have any
Yeah,
pictures of some of the ones you've done? Because, like I said, did not even know what they were, and it's supposed to be a children's program. And when I saw your name in CrossFit, I actually attended. So there was all these little kids there, and me sitting there too. Going, all right, CrossFit, Lisa. So very cool. Do you have anything like that to show people?
just
She's looking. She's looking.
so this is an early encaustic that I did. This is not with crayons. This is real encaustic. Encaustic is painting with hot wax. It's the word is actually from the ancient Greek, and we have things from the first or second century that are encaustic.
Wow.
Um, and it's a very abstract medium. When I first started doing it, I was trying to do like very specific things, like making it. I thought it was paint. It's
Not
it
paint.
does. It's not really paint. It
Okay.
flows,
Yeah.
and so I had to learn to think of it more as like glaze, which also flows.
Nice.
So
I have to tell you, my first experiment with encaustics was something I saw on YouTube where they took these crayons and they glued them to the top of a canvas, and then you got your hair dryer and melted them and let them ooze down the canvas. And I thought it was hot stuff, baby. I loved mine. I started doing all kinds of backgrounds and dripping crayons down them and the whole bit. But it was hard. Working with it with wax is hard.
so
So
here's
this
another one. I don't know if this is showing up on the Zoom. Let me just
not yet.
okay. So this is encaustics. This is
Oh,
heart.
cool.
I believe I used a heart mold, like a cookie cutter mold,
Uh-huh.
to make all those little hearts.
Out of wax first.
Well, I made them on the canvas.
Oh,
This is on a canvas actually. Usually, you want to use a board,
Uh-huh.
um, because um, canvas tends to flex and it can break. But if it's a small canvas, you can get away with it.
Okay. So how did you make little hearts? You used a cookie cutter,
I use a cookie cutter mold.
and
Uh,
then you put the wax in the mold and melted it.
yeah.
What do you
Um,
melt it with?
Let me just take this one. So this was made with leaves,
Real
um,
leaves?
real leaves. I
Do
think
that.
these are
That's cool.
maple leaves.
Yeah, they look like.
And I actually I put the wax on the leaf and then heated it up and to melt it onto the surface.
Okay, so
I
what
should
did
have
you use to melt it, and what surface is that?
I use a heat gun. You can also use, it's actually a little better to use like a creme brulee torch, although that
Oh,
would not have worked with leaves.
okay.
Um,
That's right. That's right. I was gonna say I have lots of culinary torches. We do poured painting. That's cool. So what's the background?
the background is just a simple color. So
A
and
wax color?
yeah, um, yeah, you have to kind of like prep the canvas
Yep.
by you sort of, it's sort of like gessoing, but you use beeswax instead. Encaustic is all painted with beeswax, and
Beeswax.
this is a dark blue. This might have actually some crayon in it, but it's dark blue, and I know that those white streaks
Uh-huh.
are actually oil pastels.
Really? So you can
So
mix mediums like that without any
yep,
problem?
yep. So
That is so
this is
cool.
pretty cool.
Yeah, that is
And you
cool.
can see it has a lot of flow, and it's kind of, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it is very much an abstract medium.
Yeah.
It's warm, so I tend to,
You know, my next question was going to be, can you overcook them? I probably end up burning them.
you can't really overcook them, but you can make it flow off the surface.
Sure, sure.
um you know, but it I usually tend to do it in winter because it is warm. I mean, you're
Yeah.
working, you know, you're slaving over a hot griddle. A pancake griddle is your palette,
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
so it is warm,
Yeah.
so you want to
Okay. I
not do
think
it
I
in,
remembered reading that, a hot griddle, but I forgot about that. Yeah, that's a
right,
weird, yeah, pancake
and you
griddle.
have dedicated brushes because once you've used them for encaustics, you cannot use them for anything else.
Can you
They're, you know,
continue to use them for acoustics though?
right.
Okay.
And people who are really, really serious about encaustics actually, like, they have their griddle that they just have like different colors and little tins. You know, you scavenge all sorts of tins like cat food cans and tuna cans and whatever. You know, you buy the little ham pies, you take the tin and whatever. Um,
Yeah.
so you, but people who are really into it have like one brush per color. You can sort of clean the brushes with soy wax. So
With
when
what
people give
wax?
me
With what kind of wax? What do you
soy
clean?
wax, you know,
Say,
like candle wax,
oh, and what'd you call it? Cloy?
soy. So it's you. So the real encaustics use beeswax, which melts at about 180. Soy wax melts at about 160. So you can use it to sort of clean your
Mm.
brushes.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Um, so it works fairly well to, you know, clean them. But I what I do is I scavenge, like, people give me like crappy candles and stuff, and you know, and so I
Yeah, you
scavenge
turn them
them.
into
And
art. Yeah.
I use them to clean my brushes. You
Yeah.
know, artists are the ultimate recyclers. We are cheap.
Yeah, out of necessity. When I first started,
Right.
that was like everything was recycled. Canvases, brushes, you got it. You name it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and if on the encaustics that are on canvas, if they do get a crack, I can sometimes heal the crack with a little touch of my
Mm,
heat gun. So,
cool. Cool. Very
um,
cool.
but they're a lot of fun, and a lot of people are very interested in encaustics.
They're
I learned
different.
encaustics from, well, I used to be at Western Avenue Studios. I was there for about 5 years, over in Lowell. It's a building with 300 artists in it. It's huge and it's great.
Nice.
And one of my neighbors down the hall, Nancy Toby, did encaustics, and I used to go and pester her. Um, and say, "What you doing?" Watch her, ask
Nice
her
try.
why. And
Good for
that's pretty
you.
much how I learned, is by asking questions.
Yeah.
The same thing with pottery. I've had a couple of really good pottery teachers. I started pottery when I was 8,
Ah,
at
cool.
the town rec center, and I'm from Lexington, and we have a rec center called Hayden, which is best known for its skating rink.
Cool.
Lexington has produced a couple of Olympic level skaters because of that rink.
Nice.
Um, and I did take skating, but mostly I took art classes there. Um, did the thing you send your kids to after school.
Right.
And my mother, the first class she sent me to was ceramics, and it turned out to be like one of those paint pre-made pottery things.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I went to my parents and I was like, this is okay, but I want to
Ah,
make my own
I
stuff.
make my own cups. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Totally.
So
Totally.
the next year they sent me to pottery, which was not ceramics.
That, yeah, right,
and
right.
and that's where you made your own stuff. And the first, I don't know if I still have the first thing I ever made, but it was you start with coil and slab. And so the first thing I ever made was a peanut shaped swimming pool out of coils. And yeah, even as a little kid I was a little odd. um
But that's great. That's what makes you so
and
unique. I love it.
right. And so for years I every spring I would grow my narcissuses in it, and it was,
Mhm.
I used it a lot. um and I still have a couple of pieces from when I was a little kid. In fact, I
Nice.
actually sold one a year or two ago, and I was like, people were like, "Oh, I love this," and I was like, I
I
made
made
that when I
that
was
when I was
9.
10. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So
Peace.
I was like, okay.
So let me ask you a question. I want to see some of your pottery pieces if you have pictures, but let me ask you a question. Did you kind of go here, there, and everywhere, or did you focus on pottery and then you focused on encaustic? Did you do them one at a time, or do you do them all helter skelter?
So it so currently it depends. Usually I'll do like one thing per day, but sometimes I'll swap off.
But that's because now you know how to do them. But what about when you
Right.
were learning? It's like when I
Oh,
learned how to
so
draw
for
and I was
years,
comfortable, I would go to paint.
pottery was it. So I took pottery when I was a kid. I took a class in high school, and in high school, the teacher saw that I knew basically what I was doing, and she had me doing some advanced stuff like making my own clay, and so
You made
and
your own
then
clay?
yeah, I did that in high school. I had to make porcelain. It was very cool, and
Wow.
then the kiln melted down, and like, so I never actually ended up with that piece. And then I didn't do pottery for a very long time. Then in 1993, I was having shoulder problems, and I was like, because I was a pharmacist, and back then pharmacists, nowadays they have fax machines, but back then you were always on the phone, so I was like this all the time.
Ah, yeah. That'll
And
do
and
it.
plus I was using a computer a lot, and I was using, that was back when mice were first being big, so I was doing this with the mouse, and so I ended up with a lot of shoulder problems. So I was like, well, when I used to wedge clay, it was a good workout for my shoulders. So I looked around for a pottery class, and I found the Essex Art Center. um and I was there for about at least 15, no, more like almost 20 years, taking classes at the Essex Art Center,
Oh,
mostly clay. And they had a really, I mean, when I was a kid in Lexington, I used to pester the teacher with questions.
good,
They were always very patient,
good, good.
and the same thing, I'm like, so Peter Wood over at the Essex Art Center, I used to do the Friday classes. He would teach Friday classes, and I would pester him with questions, and he would answer
Uh-oh,
them.
here she comes. Here comes the pain in the butt person. Here she comes.
I am, and
I know that well.
but for a while toward the end there, I was actually volunteering because
Nice.
I have a degree in chemistry and I have a degree in pharmacy, and so because I knew how to use a triple beam balance, which is something I learned in like middle school, but whatever. Um, because I knew how to use a triple beam balance, they
What
had
the
me
heck is
making.
a triple beam balance? Now we're getting into gymnastics here. Triple beam
It
balance.
has like the pan here, and it has like the three
Oh,
strips that you slide
I'm
along,
like,
and
okay, she's a pharmacist, she's a chemist, she's an artist, she's a pottery man, and now we're getting into gymnastics here, a balance beam here.
oh
Okay,
no,
good.
no. No, so I knew how to use the scale, the balance. So they had me making glazes for a while,
Wow,
in exchange for, free use of the studio, which was pretty cool.
that's cool.
And then they said I was making too much stuff, so they were like, "Up, they fired me." I was using too many
I know
resources.
that's not funny. It just struck me funny. Oh, she's doing too good. Let's get rid of her.
So,
I love it.
but and actually, it's funny. Even though I have like all the chemical mixing experience, I don't actually mix any chemicals nowadays because my studio is so small that
You blow up.
stock pint bottles of glaze. So I use commercial glazes.
Yeah.
Um,
They're gonna say you're afraid it will blow out. The
oh, no, no, no,
chemist.
no,
Right.
no, no. The a lot of the materials. So a lot of the materials in glazes before the glazes goes through the kiln are there's a lot of heavy metals. They aren't very. There's a lot of small particulates. Breathing ground glass isn't very good for you. Um, but and silicosis is definitely an issue.
Who? A
It's
silicosis?
well because of the clay,
Okay.
but
That,
I mean, pottery is actually. I don't wear a mask, which I probably should, but I'm old. I don't care.
that's
Um,
I'm with you.
but it's yeah. There's a lot of things that aren't good for you. If I were making glazes, I would definitely wear a mask
Sure.
because of the heavy metals. But it's some of that stuff is not good for you.
Not good for you.
I mean the paints too. Cadmium
Yeah,
is a really lovely yellow,
mhm.
yellowish orange, nice warm yellow. But the problem is it's not terribly healthy for you.
Right, right. A lot of people who do pastels wear masks, especially if you're doing like chalk pastels, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Do you have
yeah.
pictures of some of your clay works, my darling? We would love to see those babies.
Yeah, let me just so I make these little critters. There's a pink elephant.
I love it. Pink elephant. How little is that little critter? He looks little.
Oh, they're a couple of inches.
Oh, okay, they're really small.
Here's a series of bowls. This is from a while ago. This is back in like
Nice,
2013 or something.
nice, nice. So you make the clay and then you make the
I don't
piece.
make the clay. I buy my clay.
You buy the, what's a good kind of clay to buy? And it's obviously not air dry because you're putting it in a kiln, correct? You're
Well,
cooking
I
it?
go to I go to Portland Pottery
Yeah.
and uh so for some things I go to Portland Pottery. Usually I buy like oof, I'm getting the shares wrong.
You're doing fine. You're doing good.
Hold on a sec.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a sponge holder. These are very popular. I custom make them. I had a lady who's I said she's like I want one to match my kitchen. I was like, okay, send me a photo of your kitchen. Her kitchen was Pepto Bismol pink and naughty pine. I don't judge. My house was built in the '60s too. My kitchen used to be avocado.
Avocado. I just got my avocado rugs replaced. Yeah, totally understand that.
Um, and so, but I matched it perfectly.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful, wonderful. So, is there like a clay that's better to buy than a, depends on what you want to do with it, I guess, right?
Um, so I tend to buy. I've tended to experiment a little bit.
Sure.
So here's something that clay doesn't always require glaze. This is actually spray painted.
Cool.
Um, this turned out to be a little more fragile than I had hoped, so it
Okay.
never actually made it to a convention. And then too many bits of it snapped off, so I ended up throwing it out.
So
Uh,
was this an air dry clay or did you?
no, no, this is real clay. It was bisque, but
Okay.
it's actually held together. The silvery bits swing in the breeze, and it's
Oh,
actually held together with monofilament fishing wire.
cool.
The little spots on top are actually
Yep.
beads that the monofilament goes through.
Oh, okay.
This
Yeah,
was this was an interesting piece of engineering.
yeah,
Anytime you do anything with clay, there's engineering involved.
yeah, for sure.
You have to
Cool.
think about what you're doing. I have to close down some windows here so I can find them. Hold on a sec.
Close down some windows, Darwin. So is there a specific brand of clay?
So I tend to choose a clay that doesn't have a lot of grog in it,
What's grog?
um, because it otherwise it kind of rips up my hands.
Oh,
Um, so here's a yarn bowl for people who knit. This is a really, really large yarn bowl.
that is so
Um,
cool.
I mean, this could hold one of your standard commercial, skeins of yarn. It's very large. Um,
Oh,
but I don't knit, so I had a back when I was at Western Ave, I had somebody down the hall from me who was she was a pattern designer on Ravelry, and she she I consulted with her regarding the yarn bowl.
yeah, my sister loves to knit. I don't know. I'm gonna have to ask her if she has a yarn bowl. Is that something that you made up? Is that your own creation, a yarn bowl?
No,
Oh,
just like the
those are
sponge
nice.
holders, I've stolen it.
Okay.
Um, the first time I saw a yarn bowl, I'm like, what good is a bowl with a hole in the side? So,
That's right. That's right. It looks
so
odd till you figure it out. These are beautiful.
yeah, so these are sold. You can't buy these. So this is actually an example of cross discipline. So obviously these are three nesting bowls, which
Uh-huh.
is like when you go to college, that's pottery 101 is to make three nesting bowls. Um, but the speckle on the outside is actually iron filings from blacksmithing.
Oh, wow.
Because I will take any sort of art class that I can find that's especially if it's something that I haven't done.
Yeah.
Um,
You took
and
blacksmithing?
blacksmithing is a class that I've taken.
God love you.
So I will do anything.
Sure.
I've done glass blowing. I've done
Really?
um. So here's a yarn bowl I customized. Let me just um. I customized for a friend to match her cat.
Oh my God, that's gorgeous. Ha.
And when she first, I showed her. So whenever I do a custom, I always do proofs. I show proofs. Usually in raw clay before it goes through the kiln because once it goes through the kiln, it can't be
It's done.
recycled. And then,
That's right.
and in this case, I showed her the glazing, and she said, "Oh my God, that's Gracie." So she recognized her cat right away.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Are this two
so
cats? Are these two cats?
no, it's in front of a mirror because I wanted her to see the front.
Uh, I love it. I love it. That is so cool.
So
All
so
right.
the so I matched her cat.
Nice. Yeah, you
Um,
did. That's good.
and
That is,
she was Donna Dubé, whom you might actually know, but she was thrilled. And
you know
I
her.
do teach.
That was going to
Um,
be my next question. Do you teach? Where do you, now I know you have you're teaching, you have a studio in, say it, tell me where it is again.
in Haverhill. I'm right near the train station.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I'm why can't I find this? Ah,
Yeah, it's never available when you want it.
hold on a sec. If I were good, I would have set all these up as slides. Oh, there they are. Okay,
There
so
they are.
this is not my work. This is student work. I actually
Student work? Really?
this didn't work. This is a couple that came in. I do a lot of like girls' night out couples, parent and child experiences or grandparent and child experiences. I actually the orange and blue. The guy chose orange and blue for everything, and I tease him. I was like, "Are you a Broncos fan?" Because that's
That's right. That's their colors. What do you
that's their
say?
colors.
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, I just like orange and blue." I'm like,
Orange and
"Okay."
blue.
But I'm very vested in making sure that my students are successful. And these are not actually that small. Um, they're reasonable cereal bowls, reasonable
Yeah.
coffee mugs. They're a little heavier than I would make, but they were pretty.
It,
That top left mug was a good 16 ounces. So
wow.
you
Wow.
know,
It came out
um,
good though.
yeah, yep.
Looks good.
So
So
usually when students come in to do pottery, I will do the trimming work for them because that has to be done the next day, and I'm not going to make them come back. Um, and I adore trimming, and I will usually attach handles to mugs. I'll ask them what kind of handle they like, and I'll do the handle attaching.
I was going to ask you about the handles. Those have got to be a challenge, and I'm wondering how the heck students handle that. How do you
Yeah.
attach them without? I have a student who made a mouse out of clay, and the tail just keeps falling off of this thing, and I just keep gluing it back on. So, how do you get those things to actually stay on there?
You have to scratch and slip, scratch and slip. The
Scratch
same
and
old
slip.
answer is always.
Okay.
Um, I will actually like build things out of anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, so this is cheese wax.
Cheese.
I was bored on the plane.
It's actual cheese wax. I'm like,
This is
oh, what's
cheese
cheese
wax.
wax? It's the wax that's around the cheese. I love it.
Yes, from like Bonbell cheese or something.
Yep, yep.
So
I love it.
yeah,
Yeah, you're right. You'll do it. I do the same thing, but I have not done that with cheese wax yet. That's a new one for me. I like it. Very
you
cool.
know, I the Harlan Ellison, who's an author, used to say that if you cut off an author's hands, he will write with the stumps of his elbows. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I was
and
yeah,
artists are pretty much the same way that they'll.
they are. They are. I had a teacher who was in a wheelchair and he was paraplegic and he would draw, he'd put the brush and pencil in his mouth or, he'd say, put this in my hand this way, blah, blah. And they always find a way. You always find a way. This is gorgeous.
Yeah, this is also sold.
Oh,
I believe this sold through the gallery in Lowell. I'm a member of the Arts League of Lowell. Um, and
that was
this
going to
this
be a question. What other things do you belong to besides GHAA? And so
So
the
because I
Art
was in
League of
Lowell
Lowell.
for so many years, I belong to the Arts League of Lowell, and they have a gallery on Merrimack Street.
Yeah.
Um, it's right off the main drag. It's next to the. If you go down the main drag, you'll see the flour mill. It's like right next to it. It's a very nice little gallery, um,
I have been there.
and it's it's called the Arts League of Lowell Gallery. There's also an art store there called Van Gogh's Gear, and Van Gogh's Gear actually has very reasonable prices.
Nice.
Um, I've actually checked them out compared to Blick, and their prices are just as good. So that's fine.
Very cool. Yeah.
Um,
Good to have 'em close by.
yes, and they're much easier to park.
That's right. It's a lot easier to park. So,
And so I sell some things through the All Gallery. I sell some things through. I'm a member of the Artists um, Association here in Andover because I live in Andover, and I'm a member of um, the Haverhill Arts Association because my studio's in Haverhill. So all
Newburyport,
three.
you should try Newburyport. I bet. Are you familiar with Newburyport?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Newburyport. I've been to their gallery. I haven't actually joined them yet.
Our
So
beloved Anne is part of that, and some of the other artists in the group. So, absolutely. So, so most of your learning sounds like it's from taking classes, various classes that you've taken along the way.
yeah, I have no formal arts education.
Yeah.
Here's another popular thing that I do. Let's see. Is these leaves? These are all made with real leaves.
Oh, wow.
Obviously you see maple leaves.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, my favorite leaf is actually an invasive species that grows. You'll see it everywhere. It's Japanese knotweed. The
Is
leaves
that
are
on here?
Oh yeah, those light green ones are I'm sure are probably
Oh,
knotweed. They might
okay,
be. I
cool.
also have a catalpa tree in my yard. The catalpa leaves grow huge, so they might. they might not be, but the dark blue one at the very top is also probably a knotweed. Some of them are the one with the chopsticks
Yep.
is I thought it was sumac, but I think it's another invasive species. I
Okay.
forget its name. Um, but the leaves are very popular. I do very well at farmers markets with them. I
Now, are
little
they
bowls.
just decorated people? Because some of those do look like bowls. Are they all bowls, or are some of them just
They all
decorated?
have a curve to them. Some of
Okay.
them are just spoon breasts, but
Oh,
they
okay.
all, and of course there's one sponge holder in there. You can see the shadow of it. But they all are very popular things.
Nice.
And they're easy to make. The glazing is a bit tricky to bring out the um, texture of the
Texture.
leaf to bring out the
Yep.
veins.
Yep.
But other than that, it's they're very easy, and I can
And kind of whip them up, it looks like.
the only
Are
problem is
they
I can only make them when the leaves are green and fresh.
okay?
So
Yeah, I was going to ask you if they're kind of dried out, they would just crumble, right?
yeah, after October you cannot make these.
Cannot make these after.
Not until the following spring, not
Got it.
until
Got
the
it.
next May.
So how?
So
So do you? Are these what? These are what are these? These are clay?
these are all ceramics. These are all clay, and all my
Okay.
glazes are food safe. So they're all
Oh, that was a question. Plus, well, the leaf is flexible in green. You put what? A slip over it and then form it?
no. I roll it into a slab and then form it.
Oh, oh, okay.
Um,
All right.
like over a little plastic ball or
Gotcha.
like a large Easter egg half or whatever I've got around.
Whatever strikes your fancy, Lisa. I could tell. I could tell.
Yeah. So
What is your favorite piece? And before I ask you what your favorite piece is, we have done encaustics, we've done clay. Um, you do a number of different things. What's your
I do.
favorite? Do you have a favorite?
I don't know if I really have a favorite. I had one that I really liked that got sadly got stolen.
Oh, oh, I've had a piece still. That's kind of a backwards compliment. Someone liked it enough to risk, but it's kind of a backwards thing.
Which I'm not sure if it's in this file or not. It was a while ago. Of course, my favorite works are my children. No,
Good. That's a good mom response. Good for you. I love it. Okay, so what's your second favorite thing?
uh, I don't see that one here. Let's see. Let me try a different. I try to be organized, but it doesn't always work out.
It doesn't always work out. I try to. I make notes because I like checking things off or crossing them out. So I make notes. Some things I know I'm going to do, like, brush your teeth. Yeah. Just so I can check them off.
And the problem with pottery, of course, is that it is breakable. Oh, here he is.
Say transporting it to and from shows is even if it's not pottery, but I would imagine with pottery, it's the
So
is that pottery? That's not pottery, is
that is
it?
pottery,
I love it.
spray painted.
Yeah.
The eyes are, I believe, the eyes are used used enamel. It's actually three bowls that came off the wheel. If you look carefully, you can see the bowls plus the
Yep.
little beads.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Um, and like I said, it was spray painted, and the coils are, I forget if they're I think they're actually kiln wire.
Kiln wire. So is
I had
this
to
a little
replace the coils in my
alien?
kiln.
So this is a little alien, is it? Is it an
Yeah,
alien?
I called him Robot Archie.
A
Um,
robot Archie.
a little
Okay.
robot head, and and the bowls were. I looked at the bowls and I'm like, oh, these bowls are not very good, and so I ended up making a little robot head out of them. They were a lot. It was a
Very
lot of
creative.
fun.
Very perfect for a sci-fi conference, right? So sci-fi
Yeah, he
conference.
never made
Love it.
it, unfortunately, to a convention.
Ah,
Got stolen before that.
Yeah, someone liked him. Yeah, so you had these bowls that you weren't too excited. You've turned it into an art piece that someone loved. Okay. So how big is this piece?
Oh, he was about 8 inches, except for the excluding the antenna. He was only about
Okay.
8 inches tall. I tend
Okay.
to work small.
All
I'm
right.
not.
Yeah.
So some of the other things I do paper weaving. So
And what's that called? Someone, there's a name for it.
so these are
Oh,
so these are commercial tiles that you buy at Home Depot or Lowe's for 16 cents a piece. You know, the kind you use in your bathroom.
yeah.
And then I put this stuff on top of them. Some of these are alcohol ink.
Yeah.
The light blue one and the yellow one are alcohol, just plain, and the brown one, those are just plain alcohol ink. Um, the purple one at the bottom and the one in the middle, those are encaustic paper, just cheap paper that I didn't crayon encaustics on, and I cut into strips.
Wow.
The one between the purple and the orange one on the side there, that's also encaustic paper. Um, and I cut it into strips and I hand weave it together. And the top three are alcohol ink paper. Um,
And those are
probably finger
woven together too? Those are
again,
strips?
the cut into strips and woven together.
Yeah.
Probably finger painting paper. Which
Oh,
when I was doing alcohol inks, I would put underneath is basically to keep my table a little cleaner. Um, and so these are, and then I put them on these tiles. A little bit of Elmer's to just hold them down. And then I pour that epoxy, the two-part epoxy that you buy at Home Depot,
yes.
over them.
Wow. Okay.
And so they make nice coasters. And I
Yeah,
have tons of these.
I bet. I
Um,
bet. So is a set like all the same or is a set different? All different.
every one is unique. They're all different.
Okay, cool, cool. Very cool.
Um,
So are you into traditional stuff? Like I know you said some watercolors. Do you do oils, acrylics? Do you do anything traditional? Which I'm guessing no, but I
well, I
want to
do the
ask the question.
watercolors. So these are very popular over the Arts League of Lowell. So this is telephone wire, and usually when
Wow.
I used to teach these, but I'm running low on telephone wire, so I stopped teaching it. Um, but
Telephone wire, guys. Bring your own.
yeah, you can't find telephone wire anymore,
I was just
obviously.
gonna say, where the heck would you even get it? That's
Right.
cool.
So I used to have a big bin of telephone wire, and now I have a small bin of telephone wire. Uh, but so when I was at Western Ave, there was this guy named Scott who had his thing totally wired. He made these wire trees. He's not the only one. I'm sure you've seen them before. And one day I looked at my bin of telephone wire. I was like, I wonder if I could do that. And so I started twisting up and making these trees. And then a little while, and I first put them on like rocks and bricks and stuff. And then
Yeah.
a little while later, I was like, I should put them on circuit boards. And these are selling like hotcakes out in Lowell. I also sell them at Lawrence has a benefit for the city. That the Groundwork Lawrence is and I sell them there. They have a auction for recycled art, and obviously these are all recycled. There have been
Sure.
days when my husband and I are sitting together and taking apart old computer bits. Um, and where I am in Haverhill, up on the sixth floor, there's a boutique ISP called USAI.net, and he's always throwing out old circuit boards and hard drives and monitors and all this other crap. And so I raid Dave's pile.
I was just gonna say, you're right. It's out to go through the trash. Oh, this vial looks good. I
Right.
could do artwork out of that. That's awesome.
And Dave is very happy for me to raid his pile because it saves him from having to
Sure.
pay a recycler to take it away. Um,
Absolutely. It's a
so
win-win, win-win scenario.
right.
I
And
love it.
I do not cut the circuit boards because circuit boards are full of, again, heavy metals that are bad for you, like galenium and arsenic and all that stuff. Um, so I just crazy glue them on. I've tried a bunch of different glues, and the only one that worked well, that dried clear and they stuck, was crazy glue.
Crazy glue. Yeah, it's amazing,
Um,
isn't it?
People suggested E6000, but that's full of PCBs. So
Ah, okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
I don't do the
I've actually used both. You're right.
yeah, E6000 is very popular, but it is
Yeah,
full of PCBs.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. Absolutely. So, so
so for the
what?
2D,
Yeah,
oh, and I also do the other thing I do with alcohol ink, and this is what kind of got me kicked out of Western Ave is I make these little, these are little, you can buy them in the
Oh,
scrapbooking aisle, these little bottles.
cool.
So they're fairly durable.
Yeah.
And you put alcohol ink in them, and then you kind of have to cook it out. And it's a little like cooking crack. Um,
Well,
and
now, how do you know that, Lisa?
uh, and because I used to be a
That is a good
pharmacist and a
guess.
chemist, and yes, I'm not part of Breaking Bad, but so what happens is as the alcohol cooks out, sometimes it catches fire
Yeah,
and shoots flame up. I've learned to do it with a heat gun or inside a metal container, so that's not as much of a problem nowadays.
good.
And then when after I've done cooking it out, you'll see a lot of them have two colors, and that second
Yeah.
color is the jacquard makes these little sparkly powders,
Uh-huh.
and so that's the second color. I just put a little powder in there, shake it around, tap it out. So
Cool.
it uses very little, and so they have a little sparkle, and I call them magic potion vials. And all the little girls and all the people who are little girls at heart, and some of the little boys, they all adore them.
Yeah, I was gonna say those have got to be a favorite. Those are gonna be a favorite. Those are cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and this is one of those things where I usually do like a big batch.
Yeah.
There are some things
Yeah.
that I batch.
Yep. Certainly, I
Um,
can understand that.
so, but so the thing I'll be showing over at Buttonwoods are my animal paintings,
Yeah, let's see those because I saw one. You've posted one somewhere. I saw it.
and these are all on a convenient file, so I can actually just page through them. So these are so what I've done is I've taken stories. This one is from Anansi the Spider, which is an African. Actually, so Anansi comes from us through from Ghana originally, and then through the Caribbean. So this is actually a photo of a spider I took in, I think it was Jamaica. It was in the Caribbean. I forget whether it was Jamaica or somewhere. Um, and these spiders are scary huge. The females are scary huge. The males are tiny. But this spider was like 4 inches long.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they were scary huge.
Yeah.
And I'm not fond of spiders.
Well, I'm not
but
really nervous about insects. I don't want to cohabitate with them or anything, but that looks like a scary spider.
and so this spider was scary huge.
Yeah.
Um, but the original spider was not this color. They're called banana spiders. They're harmless.
Okay.
Um, but I chose these colors because I wanted something that would reflect African colors.
Okay.
So what I do is I do the drawing, and then I use a rapidograph of various thicknesses. I have like a whole set to do the outlines, the black lines that you
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
and then I erase the pencil,
Uh-huh.
and then it's almost like just coloring in. I didn't bother. I don't think I bothered with the leaves being penciled in. They're not outlined. There's a hummingbird.
Cool.
Um,
Ah,
that's actually the hummingbird is actually a Mayan story, and I write the stories to go with them. I rewrite the
do
stories.
you?
Yeah, this is the Mayan story, the hummingbird's wedding. It's about how the hummingbird got its colors. This is a Chinese story about cricket,
Is it someone
cricket
holding it in
fighting.
the hand? Looks like in a
Yes,
hand.
yes, in a hand. And
Huh.
actually, when I was at Western Ave, I went to one of my so Lowell has a huge Cambodian population, and so I went to one of my neighbors who was Cambodian. And I was like, "Can I see what color your hand is?" Because obviously my palm is the wrong color for somebody who's Asian.
That's
Um,
it.
and so I actually looked at his hand and made sure I got the colors right.
Wow.
Um, this is the Princess and the Frog, which I'm sure everybody knows. Um, this is Genesis. This is the snake.
Yeah.
If you read Genesis, the snake originally had legs,
Oh,
and
okay.
and there is a theory that the apple tree was actually a pomegranate tree. So those are pomegranates.
Nice. Yeah, I see that. Yes.
So this is the story of the Billy Goat's Gruff, which was this was actually the first one I did. Um, and if you look carefully, you can see in the rocks, you can see like little bones and stuff. Um,
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh
I
yeah.
I made the troll look very sad because he doesn't get his dinner.
I wasn't sure if it was sad or that, but that little animal, did it have writing on it? Is that what I saw?
Huh?
So
Oh, the troll.
not the troll, the animal, that black pot that you're pointing
Oh,
at.
that's just that's I have a picture of like North American animals, and he just had like little, like part of his neck was a little rough or something, so
Okay,
I just copied the picture.
cool, cool.
This is the grasshopper and the ant. I have a friend who's an entomologist. I call him Bug Boy. Uh,
Yeah, I know why.
yeah, well, he's younger
Oh,
than me. He's like 20 years younger than me,
wow.
and he recognized the species of grasshopper that I use Google Images a lot, but
Yeah.
he recognized the species of grasshopper. And in my version of the grasshopper, at the end, the ants eat the grasshopper because that's what they would
Oh,
do.
that's
Uh,
oh, look at that.
this
That's
is the little
awesome.
red hen. My daughter has a friend who keeps chickens,
Uh-huh.
and I had her get me one of the chickens and hold it so I could get like a bunch of photos. Um,
This is cool.
so this is an Andover chicken.
It's an Andover chicken. There we go.
This is the final version of the hummingbird. The original that I did
Uh-huh.
was too big for the paper.
Oh,
So I
okay.
ended up
Yeah.
doing a second version, and I found out that gentian, which is the flower in the background, is a favorite of hummingbirds. So I did
Oh,
the gentian.
nice. Nice.
That's the one that the first one. This is just the ink version. So this is before the watercolors are added.
Cool.
So it's pretty detailed.
Yeah, I would guess so.
I get a lot of detail in the ink.
Yeah.
This is a very sad story from Australia, about how the koala came to be. Um, about it's called Koala Boy. The tribe mistreats an orphan boy, and they don't give him enough water, and so eventually, when they go away hunting, and he like grabs all the water and climbs a tree and brings it up the tree, and they get mad at him, and so he doesn't come down. He becomes a koala instead.
Oh,
This is a lion and the mouse.
yeah.
That mouse has a lot of pathos. I love the mouse.
He's
Um, so this is the Puss in Boots, obviously. So I do a lot of research for these. So this one, the boots are actually from the MFA collection in Boston. Uh,
really.
they are 15th century Italian boots because it's a 15th century Italian story. The cat is actually my first cat. However, my first cat had a black tail tip, and I
Okay.
forgot to paint the tail when I did it, and I realized it at the end, and then I realized that a black tail tip would not show up as well, so I left it with a white tail tip.
There you go.
Artistic license.
I was just going to say, sometimes you're just going to take artistic license.
This is a story of Sedna, which is an Inuit story. I actually haven't written this one up yet. Um, there's various tales, but it's Sedna is the Inuit like hunting goddess, and all the sea mammals came from Sedna's. Her she was in a kayak with her father, and they were being chased, and her father decides to throw her overboard
Oh,
so that the kayak is lighter. Yeah, some of these stories are really horrible.
I was
Um,
going to say, is that very uplifting?
but Sedna reaches out and grabs the kayak and holds on, but she's in the water, so it's very cold. It's the Arctic. So eventually her fingers turn to ice, and her father beats at her hands until her fingertips fall off. So the fingertips turn into the animals, and that's
Oh,
why Sedna has her hands ended at her knuckles.
yeah.
So not a very happy story.
Not a happy story.
But I had
Wow.
fun drawing all the
Yeah.
animals. There's a narwhal and a beluga whale, and I actually wrote on the back what all the there's
The
like a
animals.
harp seal and a walrus, and I did write on the back what all the animals are.
Cool. Cool.
This is the story of the fisherman and his wife. He catches a magic carp, and she keeps asking for bigger and bigger houses and all that stuff.
Very cool.
Whoops,
Oh,
went a little too fast there.
that's
This is the
okay.
tortoise and the hare,
I
and
love that.
so with the hare, I went to the Topsfield Fair, and I took pictures of a lot of bunnies in cages.
Yeah.
The
That
tortoise is just
tortoise
from
is
Wikipedia. He's
amazing.
just a Galapagos tortoise.
It's amazing. I love the detail on there.
This is a Native American story, a fairly modern one about a boy who hears a coyote and decides to go off into the woods to join the coyote, not a coyote, a wolf, and decides to go off in the woods and join the wolf. Um, and is never seen or heard from again, although, there's the theory that he becomes like starts living with the wolf or something.
Wolf. Wow.
The
Wow.
wolf boy.
Wolf boy.
So
Amazing. Amazing. Amazing, amazing. I could talk to you all day, I'm sure, but let people know how they can get a hold of you. First of all, you said you teach. So, what do you teach? Where do you teach? How do people get a hold of you and all that good stuff?
so I for some things like pottery, I can only do it in my studio.
Sure.
Most people who come to me want to learn pottery, and I charge a flat fee, no matter what, $25 an hour.
Cool.
It includes everything, all the materials. It's
That's
just easier
that's a
for
good
me.
deal.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if I'm teaching encaustics, alcoholics, pottery, anything. I have a student coming on Wednesday to learn drawing. Fine. 25 bucks an hour. That's it,
Perfect.
right?
Perfect. Perfect.
Um, so you're just paying basically straight time, and especially for the pottery students, I do a lot of extra stuff.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like
Because
it.
there is otherwise it would be most people come for short-term classes. If you want to go long-term, frankly, I tend to send some people to the Essex Art Center because their classes are very reasonable. Unless you're on the other side of Haverhill, in which case I might send you to Purple Sage Pottery. Um, but
So you take
Essex Art
mostly
Center is
short term?
mostly what people do is they want pottery, and I tell them it's usually about a 2 hour initial. Depends on what you want to do. If you want to do like the leaves, they're
Yeah.
easy. You can pop
Hmm.
those off in an hour.
Hmm.
Um, Wheel work is usually 2 hours. Um, and then I have them come back a week later to do the glazing. And the glazing is, for pottery, mostly the glazing is an hour. The leaves, it might be 2 hours because they're a little harder to
A
glaze.
little harder to.
Um,
It's
but
true.
I had somebody who just wanted to come and glaze, and I was like, okay. And she sat there for like 4 hours glazing using my glazes.
Wow.
Like,
Wow. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. Everyone wants something different. So it's good that
you
you're
know,
flexible.
I'm
So,
very flexible. But like I said, I'll, be happy to teach encaustics. I'll be happy to, and I'm always happy to have visitors at my studio too.
and where's your
I'm in the
studio?
Yeah, I'm in the Burgess Business Center, which is so if you are at the railroad station, you'll see these three tall yellow buildings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're actually historic cement buildings.
Nice.
They were like all three were built in like 6 months back in 1906 to support the shoe industry.
Nice.
Um, and I'm in the Burgess Business Center is the middle one. It has a big sign on it that says first floor for lease. And there is a lot of space in the building. We also have other GHAA members. Debbie Shirley is in the building.
We
Um,
love Debbie. Yes. Hello, Debbie.
but there's a lot of so if people are looking for studio space right now, there's a lot of studio space available.
Cool.
The landlord is very nice,
Hmm.
very reasonable.
Good. Good.
Um,
Good. Good. Okay.
it's
So, website, email. How can we get in touch with you, young lady?
so So cogitation, I am the cogitation zone. If you Google cogitation zone, then you can find me. The most difficulty most people have is spelling cogitation.
I was just going to say, I wouldn't even know how to spell that, Lisa.
Cogitation. I have a
Education Center.
I
Okay.
have a website, cogitation.org. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. My Twitter handle is cogitationitis. Um, I used to do live journal. I suppose you could
Nice.
find me that way, or Dream with. I don't really use those anymore. Nobody does. Live journal got taken over by the Russians. Um, it's. I
Uh-huh.
think I might have had a Tumblr at one point, but I don't.
Yeah, I was
It,
going to say Tumblr. I don't know about that either. It's gone
I
tumbled
was too
off
old for
somewhere.
Tumblr, so my kids
Yeah.
maybe get off of it. Um,
All
but
right.
basically, if you Google cogitation zone, you'll find me,
You'll find
and
you.
and
Okay.
and give me a
Yeah.
call, and I'll be happy to schedule. If you just want to
Cool.
stop by, um,
Take a look.
I'm
Yeah.
not there every day. I'm sort of kind of lazy about working for myself, unfortunately. I've
So
been
that's
trying
good.
to, because I do farmers markets. Last summer I didn't do any markets.
Right,
Everything got
right,
canceled.
right.
So pretty much during the pandemic, there were two kinds of people during the pandemic: those who made lots of stuff, and those who pretty much made nothing.
Nada. Right,
And I
right,
was
right.
one of the nothing people
There you
because I didn't
go.
have anywhere to put it and nowhere to sell it.
Right.
Um, I,
Makes a
sh- I
difference.
I have a friend who uses my kiln, and she made tons of stuff.
Wow.
So I was there running like kilns for her basically all the time.
There you go.
Um, so, but I've she's moving away now, which is very sad.
Yeah.
If you just want to come use the kiln, I have a small kiln. The shelves are only about 15 inches or a little smaller than standard. It's called the test kiln. It was actually made in Haverhill. It's a GHAA kiln. They don't make kilns anymore. They just make glazes.
Glaze.
Um,
Yeah.
but it was made in the mid '80s, and it hardly got used until I bought it. Um, but I'll let you run a
Cool.
kiln shelf for $5.
Okay, so there's actually a lot of options available with you. You seem like you're very open to what people want to do and what they need, so on and so forth. So that's absolutely awesome. And I have to tell you, this is the first time I've ever talked to you at length. Very interesting, very informative, and funny too. So I want to thank you and encourage people to get in touch with you. And you're going to have work at Buttonwoods. We're going to be Buttonwoods.
Yeah. So the thing that I'm gonna have up at the group show is a thing that came from the Cambodian wood fire kiln in Lowell. From the master potter Yari Levan runs the kiln, and Yari is also he's a lovely guy. His accent sometimes is a little hard to parse, but he's a great guy, very knowledgeable. He's one of the last three Cambodian master potters. One of them is retired. One of them lives in Cambodia, and he's the third one. And basically, he survived the Khmer by throwing away his glasses and making roof tiles.
Ooh,
And he
unbelievable.
spent like 12 years in a resettlement camp in Thailand before coming to Lowell.
Wow, 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 wow.
So his life story is fascinating. His grandkids are adorable, and
That's, yeah, I'm telling you, gotta love the little ones. Okay, my darling,
so
I'm going to thank you and encourage people to get in touch with you. And thank you so much for joining me. This was awesome.
yeah, a little long. I'm sorry, I tend to talk.
No, no, not at all. You're fine. You're fine. All right, very cool. I will see you soon. I'll see you at the Buttonwoods exhibit.
Yep.
Bye bye,
Thank you.
honey.
Bye.